In our travels for the last almost 30 years, ever so often we need to take a few days to come aside to refresh ourselves, to prepare for another long stretch of meetings. At the different campgrounds that we find online, we'll see a list of amenities, which may include a fishing pond or a small body of water. My husband enjoys a place where he can sit in a lawn chair and cast his line into the water. Often, though, there is a sign that will read, "Catch and release." Now, my husband is okay with this because he's just wanting to unwind a little, and if he pulls a fish in, okay, he's had his fun, even when it is released. But when we really want to go fishing, he doesn't want to read a sign that says he must release his catch. He wants to keep what he reels in. As Jesus called his 12 disciples, we find many of them were fishermen. The calling of these Jewish fishermen was the first step by which God would bring the light of the glorious gospel to shine on all people. We read in Matthew chapter 4, verses 18 through 22, "And Jesus, walking by the Sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets, and he called them. And they immediately left the ship and their father and followed him." Notice two important words of what these fishermen were doing: casting and mending their nets. Then also in the book of Luke, I want you to notice Luke's gospel. We read of his account, which Jesus called the disciples in chapter 5. Luke stresses some were washing their nets. Jesus told them to fear not, that from that point on, they would catch men. For some time, I've been burdened with the need for us Christians to realize there's not a catch and release sign in God's kingdom work. Whether young or old, it's God's will that we keep the catch. It should be a concern for each child of God that when an individual comes to the Lord, that they continue their walk with the Lord. I've been asking the Lord for a harvest of souls in these last days, and that we can keep the souls we bring in as we cast the net of the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ. Notice not only these men on the Sea of Galilee were casting their nets, but they were also washing and mending their nets. Now, may I say, it's often exciting to cast the net. I understand there were nets for the more shallow water and other nets for the deeper waters. To get the proper net out and throw it out over the water and wait to see what they would bring in, it had to be exciting. But the washing and the mending was much less exciting, but very taxing and necessary. Think about it. Should the fishermen get a number of fish, but the net was broken, the fish would be lost. God has been showing me the need to wash the nets. You see, washing the nets is imperative to get the debris out, so you can see the flaws that are in the net. I remember years ago being in church with a pastor and his wife. It was obvious they had encountered a very hard spiritual battle since we had seen them last. In fact, they told us their struggle with someone they had dealt with. It was so bad that they didn't ever want to cast the net again. But as the preacher preached that night, the light of the glorious gospel shone on the debris in their nets, and that their nets just needed washed. They realized that just because their nets had been grabbing a lot of trash and debris from the cast, that they didn't need to stop fishing. No, there's never a time to stop fishing. As the time draws closer for the return of Jesus, we are commissioned to even go to the highways and hedges and compel them to come in. But we must wash our nets from the last casting and see if there's any flaw. Then take the time to mend the net from brokenness. Mending, yes, takes some time, but so needful. The debris was gotten out of the net of the precious couple. Apologies were made. Forgiveness was shown, and we witnessed a glorious victory. God began to move, and before long, the church building couldn't hold all the ones that were brought in from the next casting of the net. Are you praying for a good harvest of souls, or are you content for just a catch and release? Do you count numbers, but not ones that are truly rescued souls? How long has it been since you asked the Lord to shine His light on your net and to reveal any debris you may have encountered and then wash it out? Have you noticed a break in your net that needs repaired? Are you dealing with some young converts and you're crying to the Lord to be able to keep them? My friend, you aren't alone in your desire. God wants us to arise and be vigilant so souls can be won into the kingdom before His return. Let's not be weary in well-doing. Don't quit washing. Don't quit mending the net so we can experience a good cast and not face Christ empty-handed. Be obedient. After the disciples had fished all night and caught nothing, Jesus told them to launch out into the deep and cast their nets out for a huge catch. Simon said they had toiled all night and had done no good, but he would let down a net. Notice Jesus said cast the nets, not just a net. Peter seemed so doubtful that anything would take place that he partially obeyed. The catch was too much for just one net, and the net broke. Had the other group of fishermen not been close enough to help, how many fish would have been lost? Brothers and sisters, let's find ourselves washing, mending, and casting our nets in obedience to the voice of the Lord so we can see a great harvest of souls for Jesus when He returns. God bless you, my friend, as you go about doing the work of the Master.